Before you can fix your free trial conversion problems, you need to understand what's not working. And if you already have a sequence in place, the best way to do that is by looking at the data. Too many B2B SaaS companies jump right in and rebuild their entire free trial onboarding sequence without actually taking a look and diagnosing where the real problems actually are, or thinking about all the possible reasons as to why the data is showing what it is. So let's take a look at your confirmation email, for example, and think about all the different reasons why the data might be showing what it is when it just comes to that very simple confirm your account email. And when you see how I think through this as a strategist, I hope it'll help you see the depth at which you should be looking at not only your onboarding sequence as a whole, but every single email and touch point within your onboarding experience. So first things first, how many users are actually confirming their account? If the numbers are really low, think about why that could be. Maybe your email isn't getting any opens because it went into spam and you need to work on your deliverability. Or maybe that email didn't even get delivered. And so maybe your users are putting in the wrong email address. And so the fix to that could be adding a second email input on the sign-up page and making sure that users have to have matching email addresses to lower the chances that they've input their email incorrectly. The next thing I want to ask is, how long does it take your email to get delivered? If the wait is too long, users are going to give up and they're going to get distracted. We're looking at minutes here. We want this email to be delivered as fast as possible, but honestly, in this very specific scenario, minutes can make all the difference. And if this email is getting delivered and it's getting delivered on time, but it's not being opened, we're going to want to take a look at the sender name and the subject line. What about those two things is turning people off and making them not open that email and click in it? And if that email is getting opened, but it's not getting clicked and people aren't clicking through to confirm their account, what's happening? Why is that happening? This email should have the highest open rates and the highest click rates of all of your emails that you ever send. And so if this email isn't killing it, ask yourself why that could be. Take a look and ask yourself, what's wrong with the copy inside this email? Or is there anything wrong with the way that this CTA is set up? Do you have your confirm CTA set up as a hyperlink, or do you have it set up as a button? Is there anything inside this email that could be causing your users confusion between what they saw on the landing page when they signed up and what they're finding inside this email? Is that link actually working? When was the last time that you tested it? And so these are just some of the questions that I want you to ask yourself when you're assessing this very simple 20-word, 3-line email. And I want you to go through this process for every single email inside your free trial onboarding sequence. Ask yourself, what could be going wrong? Where's the disconnect? What are they expecting to see in their inbox or inside the email? And are they seeing that? Is that what they're finding? And if not, then we need to fix it. If the open rates are low, figure out why that is, and let's get those open rates up. If open rates are looking good and the clicks are low, then figure out why that is, and let's get those clicks up. And so with that, let's look into some of the ways that you can increase the opens and the clicks for your free trial onboarding sequence. Now, what we're going to talk about here, these are not theoretical suggestions. These are the exact same things that my team and I do when we are assessing a company's free trial onboarding sequence, going through and fixing these things, or building a sequence from scratch. So let's get into the fixes. The first thing that I want you to do is shift your focus from your features to the outcomes. So if your emails are currently focused on your features, so if they're talking about your time tracker or your multiple project views or your ability to sort files into folders, that needs to change. Stop talking about what your software does and start talking about what users can achieve with it. So first, identify the feature that you're highlighting. Let's say that it is a time tracker. Next, I want you to connect that feature to the outcome that it enables. So a time tracker, it helps users understand where their time's actually going. It identifies inefficiencies and it provides data for billing clients accurately. But then this is where most companies stop, and that's the mistake here. We want to go deeper. We need to go deeper. What you need to answer is, why do my users care about that outcome? I want you to keep asking, so what, until you get down to the root of what your trial user actually cares about. And then I want you to talk about that so what in a way that the user talks about it. So use their actual words. This goes back to knowing who your trial user is. An independent contractor, for example, with 5 clients cares about time tracking for a way different reason than a project manager overseeing 12 employees does. So for the contractor, accurate time tracking means that they can accurately bill clients without disputes quickly. That's what they care about. They care about getting paid what they're owed without the back and forth and being able to just do that really fast. Whereas for the project manager, time tracking means that they can easily see which employees have been working on which projects and how much, and they can use it to identify which projects are eating up too much time relative to their value. So this allows them to prove to leadership that their team needs more headcount or that certain client accounts aren't worth keeping. And so this is the same feature, but completely different reasons for caring about it based on who your ICP is. So for each ICP, we need to keep asking, so what, so what, so what, for every single feature. That's the thing that's going to drive the conversions. When you connect features to outcomes and then connect those outcomes to the deeper reasons that your users care about those outcomes in their own words, your emails stop simply being product tours. Yes, you're teaching them how to use your software, but more importantly, you are showing them how their software improves their lives, and you're telling them about it in words that they use. And that's what gets users to make the effort to get over that hump of adopting your tool and ultimately upgrading to a paid account at the end of their free trial. Now, the second fix that I want to talk about is implementing strategic segmentation. So if you're currently sending everybody through one single sequence, it is time to start segmenting. So the easiest way to think about this and to be strategic about this is to start going from broad to specific. So at the broadest level that we could really start at to make it easy to picture this is, if your software caters to both B2B and B2C, segment those users into different groups. These two audiences, they have fundamentally different needs, different goals, and different decision-making processes. Then go a level deeper within those audiences. So if you're working with B2B users, segment those users by industry. Marketing teams have different goals than accounting teams. And sales teams likely have a different level of sophistication with tools like yours than operations teams do. Now go even deeper. Why not try segmenting by team size? Is this a solo founder using your tool? Is it a team of 5 to 10 people? Or is this a senior manager overseeing 40 or more employees? And then we can go even deeper and look at their desired outcome. What goal are your users trying to achieve with your software? If your tool does 3 main things that all have a different outcome, you should, if you can, segment these users into 3 different segments to help each one achieve their specific goal. And so you could gather this through an onboarding questionnaire or by tracking what the user does first when they get into your tool. So you could have one segment that's B2B marketers with a team of 40 plus, and they want to achieve goal 1. Then you have another segment that's B2B marketers with a team of 40 plus, and they want to achieve goal 2. And then you have another segment that's B2B marketers with a team of 40 plus, and they want to achieve goal 3. Now, will there be overlap between these 3 segments? Yes, there's likely quite a bit of overlap between these 3 segments, and that means that there's likely several emails that you could use across all 3 different onboardings because these segments, they do have a lot of similarity. But your priority is making sure that each segment is receiving emails that talk about the things that they care about. And this information is critical not just for your onboarding, but for your sales strategy towards the end of your free trial. Because, okay, think of it like this. You could have this first segment that we just talked about, the B2B marketers with a team of 40 or more people who want to achieve goal 1. And then you could also have a segment of B2B marketers who are solo founders that want to achieve goal 1. During the sales process, a solo founder likely doesn't have to bring in any other stakeholders to the decision to buy your software. You can, in most instances, just send this solo founder a link to the checkout page in your sales emails. Whereas the person running a team of 40 plus people, they will likely need to escalate this recommendation through multiple levels of the business, which requires time and a different sales approach. At this size, especially if each of these 40 people on their team gets their own seat within your software, they'll probably be a candidate for an enterprise account, and they'll need to go through your sales team to actually get signed up. Now, if you have no segmentation and you're not sure where to start by segmenting by feature usage. What are users actually doing in your tool when they first log in? And go from there. And if you can't easily identify segmentation through onboarding questionnaires or in-app actions, like if your tool and your email software, they don't play nice with each other, which I have seen before, implement a self-segmenter email like we did with Bitly. Ask users a strategic question that gets them to raise their hand and tell you what segment they belong to, and then you can route them into the appropriate flow from there. Segmentation is what makes your emails feel relevant, and relevance helps drive conversions. And then on to fix number 3, we're going to increase email frequency. So if you're only sending a handful of emails over the course of your trial with several days in between each email, you need to increase that email frequency, especially in the early days of your trial in those first 4 days. The first 4 days of a trial are the most critical. This is when users are most engaged, they're most motivated to change their ways, and they're most open to adopting a new way of working. At minimum, you should be sending 2 emails on day 0, that very first day when they sign up, and then 1 email per day throughout day 4. But here's where things can get even more strategic, is you can set these emails up to fire based off of actions. If a user takes the action that you want them to take in email 1, fire off an email telling them what the next step is. Why wait until the next day when they're already in the tool and taking the actions that you're trying to get them to take? But the key here, when you set up action-triggered emails, is to put them on a timed delay. Because if the user is in the tool and they're doing the thing and they take the action on their own, what we don't want is to send an email off saying, hey, take this action, because they're in the tool and they just did that thing. We don't want to fill their email inbox up with emails that they're like, why are you sending me this? I've already done this thing. That just feels confusing. So setting these emails up to be on a time delay of a couple minutes, 5 minutes, depending on how long it takes your software to sync with your email service provider, this just helps prevent that. And then after day 4, email frequency will depend on your tool, your users, and their goals. So you could go every other day for the middle portion of the trial, but as you approach the end, when you're in your sales period, you want to be sending emails daily again. Now, I do not have a rule for the number of emails that you need to send versus the trial length. But if you aren't sure where to start, if I had a gun to my head and somebody said, you need to tell us how many emails we need to send for a certain length of a trial, what I would say is for a 14-day trial, aim for around 10 to 15 emails. For a 7-day trial, around 8 emails. And for a 30-day trial, I would say 15 to 20 emails. And remember, what we're not doing here is just sending emails out to fill up their inbox. Every single email should have a purpose. It should guide them towards a specific action that's going to take them closer to that aha moment, and it should reinforce the value of your tool. So if you think that the number of emails that I have suggested is a lot, then you better make sure that every single email has a job and that it's doing that job well. Because if it is, then your trial users won't see your emails as a nuisance. They'll instead see them as helpful and relevant, which means they're going to keep opening them, which means they're going to keep taking the action, which means they're going to fall in love with your software. And that's what's going to help them convert into a paid account towards the end. And then fix number 4, is sending dedicated sales emails. If you're not currently sending sales-specific emails during the trial, then this is honestly likely the fix that will probably have the biggest impact on your conversion rates. First, start seeding the idea of a paid account early on in the trial. You can do this by using the PS area or the space below your signature in your onboarding emails to mention the paid plan. Throughout the trial, as you introduce premium features, or you notice that a user is making use of premium features that are only available on a paid plan after the trial, you can mention that. And then around 3/4 of the way through the free trial, send your first dedicated sales email. And this is an email where the primary purpose is to persuade them to buy. And again, this is if like somebody had a gun to my head and I had to give a number of sales emails that need to be included in a trial. I would say for a 7-day trial, send at least 2 dedicated sales emails. For a 14-day trial, 3, but probably 4, hopefully 4. And then for a 30-day trial, 5, for sure 5. And then that's just during their trial while their account is still active. And what happens after the trial, it kind of depends on your software. So if they get downgraded to a free account, or if they get locked out because there's no free version of your software. If your users get downgraded to a free account, spend a few days after the trial continuing to sell them on a paid account while also informing them that they do still have access to their account. Talk about what features they've lost access to specifically. And then if you can, pull in information about what they did during the trial that they no longer have access to, because that's going to be really key here. But keep in mind, we're not just talking about the features. Just like I said earlier, you want to talk about the outcomes that they're no longer going to be able to achieve. So if you know that they made use of feature A and they no longer have access to feature A, make that really clear. Like, you can say, yes, you'll still be able to do D, E, F, G, but you can't do A, which means that you can't achieve this outcome that A helps you achieve moving forward. If after the free trial, your users get completely shut out, spend a few days continuing to sell them on the paid account and make sure that they know that they have completely lost access to their account. You can also do what I just mentioned, which is where you talk specifically about the things that they did during their free trial and the features that they made use of that they no longer have access to. And then what does that mean that they can no longer achieve these things? So if you know what their primary goal was with your tool, either through your onboarding survey or because of what actions they did inside the tool, chances are they still have that goal. And so you need to sell them on still achieving that goal, because achieving that goal is just on the other side of paying for their account. And then fix number 5, the final fix that we're going to talk about in this video, is using boxcars to ensure your users complete critical actions. If your current sequence is just sending time-based emails regardless of what users are actually doing or not doing inside of your tool, that means that some users are missing out on taking actions that are critical for them to take in order for them to move forward along the path to the aha moment. And when these users skip these steps, they can't reach that aha moment, which is that moment where they realize that they cannot live without your software. And this is where boxcars come in. Think of a boxcar like a mini email sequence, and it can stand alone on its own. And what this email sequence is going to do, typically we start with 3 emails in a boxcar, and this boxcar gets triggered when a user does not complete a critical action. So each boxcar is hyper-focused on getting a user to complete that critical action. So let's say the path to your aha moment requires 5 steps. You send an email prompting users to take step 1. And then you're going to take a check and you're going to say, did they complete step 1? If yes, they're going to immediately move to the next step in your sequence, which is, hey, take step 2. But if they didn't, then they are going to enter the step 1 boxcar. So each email in this boxcar is going to approach that same action, but from a different angle. What you're going to do here is you're going to use your voice of customer data. You're going to use your jobs to be done information and Think about all the different reasons that your users hired your tool for, and you're going to pull these different levers in each email in the boxcar to try to get the users to take an action. And so something to think about is that boxcars, they're both time-based and action-based. Typically, you would space each email out in a boxcar by 1 day, but what you want to make sure that you're doing is the moment a user takes the action that you want them to take inside the boxcar, they exit that boxcar. They're no longer getting those emails telling them to take that action, and they're moving on to the next step. So now the next email they get is going to be the email in your regular sequence, in your, standard onboarding sequence, that's telling them, hey, now go ahead and take action too. So let's look at a concrete example of what this might look like. So let's say you have a QR code generating tool. If a user doesn't create a QR code, there's nothing left for them to do. There's nothing for them to do inside your tool, because what we're going to try to be getting them to do is customizing their tool, maybe adding their logo and their brand colors to it. We're going to get them to scan it so they can see the data from that. There's nothing for them to download to put on print materials. So if they don't actually create a QR code, the rest of your onboarding sequence becomes moot. So you're going to send them that first email in their onboarding where you're going to say, hey, create your first QR code. If they don't create their QR code, they're going to go into the create the QR code boxcar. And each email is going to focus on a different reason as to why this user might want to create their first QR code. And again, we're pulling this from our jobs to be done, from the goals users have with our tool, and using VOC. So we're not going to be telling them and just sending off the exact same email over and over and over again saying, hey, create your first QR code now. We need to approach it from a different angle. Find out what it is that they actually care about, the reason that they want to create their QR code. Then they will take that action, and then they move on into the next step of our onboarding. When you strategically use boxcars, you're going to help your users keep making progress towards the aha moment. And when they reach that aha moment, when they realize that they can't live without your tool, that's what's going to help them convert into a paid account. So when you take a look and make decisions based off of the data that your sequence is giving you, and you implement these 5 strategic fixes, this is a great start to using a data-driven approach to fixing your free trial onboarding sequence. You're not completely guessing. You're not just copying what other companies do and doing it without understanding why. You're actually building a strategic funnel that responds to how your users are actually engaging with your tool. And you're helping them actually take the actions that are going to push them from a maybe I need this tool in my life to yes, I absolutely need this tool in my life. I'm going to pay and upgrade my account at the end of my free trial. So when you implement these fixes, when you shift from features to outcomes, when you start to segment strategically, when you start sending more emails, you send dedicated sales emails, and you use boxcars to help users take those critical actions on the route to the aha moment, this is how you are going to see your conversion rates increase for your free trial. And this is exactly what my team and I do. So if you want my team and I to implement these fixes for you, to audit your current onboarding sequence, identify where you're losing conversions, and rebuild your funnel so that it's strategically designed to take your trial users from free to a paying customer, book a discovery call with me. We'll take a data-driven approach to rebuilding your free trial onboarding sequence, and we'll make sure that every single email in the sequence is doing its job and playing its part to drive conversions to paid accounts. The link is in the description of this video. I can't wait to talk to you. Let's fix your free trial onboarding sequence.